Welcome back, everybody, to another issue of Hops Geek News. Fly, fat ass, fly! As this is an episode that is dedicated to the man himself, Kevin Smith, and all of his fantastic movies. And part two is going to also probably feature some of his comic books. So strap in. We are a podcast that discusses comic books, movies, TV shows, all sorts of fun shit. And if you found us, great. You know where to look. If you don't know where to look and you somehow stumbled upon this fine, fine, wonderful world, then search Hops News on all your favorite podcasting platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
Go to Podchaser, look for Hops News on there, leave a review because during the month of April, every review, they are donating 25 cents to Meals on Wheels. And then they're
I
also
need to
donating
do that.
25 more cents when we respond to a review. So like us, love us, subscribe, share. That said, we are Mash and Hoppy Mommy. I always feel like this is somebody's kink, by the way. If they're listening, they're like, oh, Hoppy Mommy. I wish somebody would call me Mommy.
Oh. I will say I picked my name because on my Instagram I was starting to get beer followers, but like I still had kids, so I was like, oh, well, kind of focuses
Beer
on
and
what I
kids go
post.
hand in hand.
Beer and kids. So I chose Happy Mommy. And I remember I actually chose that. It was like a night of like drinking at a brewery, and I'm like, I'm gonna change my because before my name was like Flower Girl 53, which is literally my beeper code. It was like my screen name in high school, and like 53 is my beeper code because it's LF on the phone. That's how old I am.
Beepers. Oh my God.
Beepers, yeah. I got a beer the other day that had a beeper on it and it says 143. Do you know what that means?
I love you.
Oh, wow, you do. I didn't think you were gonna.
Hell
I thought
yeah, I
maybe you were
do.
too young.
No, I know all about. Look, I'm hip, I'm cool, I'm old. I'm a cool mom.
But did you ever beep anybody 143?
Hell no, I didn't have no beeper. Are you kidding me? I
Okay.
had cell
Well,
phones.
exactly. See,
I
I
had a
remember the
cell phone
first
once I
time my
hit
husband
14.
beeped me 143.
You're like, what does this mean? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I grew up in the age of so I got a cell phone when I started working at 14 in the year 2004, and then I also grew up in AIM, so like yo,
Mm.
Yahoo, AIM, that shit was lit. I was talking to all the biddies around the world who were probably actually creepy old men. But
Well, when Instagram started, though, everybody was using their AIM name, and I've never heard it called AIM. I've always called
oh
it AIM.
yeah, what's your screen name, bro?
Yeah, mine
What's
was
your
Flower Girl
aim? And I was like, oh, I totally
53.
got my crush's aim. Fuck yeah. Beers, 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 drinking
That's how my
beers,
husband
drinking
and I got
beers.
back together was MySpace and AIM.
Oh, you were in his top eight, and that's how you knew that love was real.
It's in his top eight.
Hell yeah. She
Yes, so
was
beers, beers,
top
beers.
two, not two. Beers, beers, beers,
Speaking
drinking
of
beers,
speaking of
drinking
high school and
beers.
all that fun, we're talking Kevin Smith, which I'm
We
very
are.
excited.
I guess we should get into real quick. What did we fuck up last week? Oh
We
wait,
had
hold on, back it up, back it up. I got ahead of myself. So we're coming off a hot and spicy episode with Tavern Geek, where I drank a massive 750 milliliter bottle. That's like the size of a liquor bottle for all you kids at home. It is a 12.3% Hardywood rum barrel pumpkin farmhouse pumpkin ale, aged in bourbon barrels. And so I'm feeling good. I've got
yeah.
Mooby's Fun Time Lager for Motorworks Brewing. It's 4.8% if you're on the tube. There you see the Mooby's fun thing. You're drinking it. Snoochie Boochies. Looking for an
Snoogans.
ice cold, crispy brew to go with your cow tipper? You're in luck. We rounded up some sweet, grassy moos fresh off the Garden State Parkway for this exhilarating light beer. Brewed with Pilsner wheat malt, this lightweight golden lager's got blazing gold clarity and soft, fruity sweetness, while German noble hops give it a totally chill bitterness with a clean, kind of dry finish. Movie's Fun Time Lager is a crisp, refreshing, uber quaffable light beer. And this color is really light. I can literally see myself through the glass. Wicked light beer.
Yes.
But my man is great. It is awesome. You can go to they actually have a website I found today where you can buy all sorts of like Jay and Silent Bob merch and things from their movies. It's so I'm gonna be picking some stuff up. But Lauren actually sent me this movies because I don't get to any of the pop-up fun. It went to Orlando, it's gonna go to Austin. The pop-up went to Boston. Austin? I thought you said Boston. It's the other way around.
It went
But
to both.
yeah, I'm actually really disappointed that I'm not home for the movies pop up because I just, anyways. all great things. So if there is a Mooby's pop-up coming to you soon, go get a delicious burger. See what brewery is actually teaming up with Mooby's to brew the delicious beer. Get your hands on it. It's going to be great. Good time. And what we fuck up last week,
Hold
boy?
on, I'm still talking about what we drank.
Oh
So
God, I'm so
yes,
sorry.
like Matt said about the different breweries teaming up. So Motorworks is actually in Bradenton, Florida, and they just opened up a location in downtown Orlando. So we now have one too. But when the pop-up came up, it's really cool, very nostalgic. They have all sorts of stuff open or all sorts of stuff up. Like they had an inflatable Blunt Man and Chronic, and they had the sheet that said I assure you we're open, and they had Jay and Silent Bob like playing on the screen. It was funny because I went with my husband, and when we were there, we're watching the movie. He's like, I don't think I've ever seen this movie. I'm like, are you kidding me?
What? Carrie, my wife, has never seen Mallrats until recently. So I showed her
Oh,
that.
that's the
She'd never
best
seen
one.
Dogma either until recently. And I showed her that. And
Oh,
that's my
see, Josh
favorite
had
one.
seen Dogma. But
So
yeah, we'll get into each of them as we go through. But
that's why we do a podcast. Our
there
spouses are
is
so uncultured.
they're uncultured swines. What are we gonna do? But there's somebody, if you're into beer, like nerd kind of stuff, I highly recommend following this one person. She used to be Susie on Tap, but she's now Susie M. Bennett with two N's and two T's.
She got
And she
married.
actually posted a picture of her with Kevin Smith and the beer. She's actually a beer scientist for Motorworks Brewing. So I highly recommend following her IG. Once
Are
this
you
comes
kidding
out,
me? Hold on. Time the fuck out. She got to meet Kevin Smith, and I've been over here simping
yep.
Kevin Smith and Dunkin' fucking Donuts on our Twitter, and I can't get either of them.
Because when I saw that picture, I was like, holy shit, I
Like,
have to go to this pop up because the pop up was really cool. But it's honestly like you order your food ahead of time and it's like $30 for like a burger and tater tots. But they have Beyond Burgers and of course they have the cock smoker sandwich too. And it's more so just nostalgia when you're there. And then like my husband got a lemonade and I got a beer and that was an extra $15. But it
worth
was
it
still
though.
really awesome. It was really awesome. But okay, so what did we
Damn
fuck up?
it. Damn it. I fucked up by moving from Florida, apparently, but go ahead.
I don't know who moves to Idaho. Why? No, why? I'm sorry.
I moved to New Hampshire first, thinking I was going to be there still. I'm not even supposed to be here today.
That was perfect. Okay. So last week we talked Colossus, which I still have I've been buying all the fucking Funko Pops to promote our show. So Colossus. So we were arguing about him being in the first X-Men movie, and Hops and Heroes on Instagram, who has an amazing beer and superhero account. We do share
Yes.
him regularly in our stories. He is an awesome page. He informed us that the scene when they pan through the mansion and the kid sitting outside drawing is Colossus. So
No
that is
shit.
who he is in the first one because Colossus likes to draw. And then Warley Nerd, the Nerdy Photo, and Hops and Heroes all pointed out that when Colossus throws Wolvie, because I posted that scene from X3, that is called the fastball special. So Colossus does that in the actual comics. And I think it's when any superhero throws any other superhero, it is called a fastball special.
Huh.
So yeah, that was awesome. And the only other thing I wanted to say was when I was listening back, I got a lot of shit about my purse. And I just want to take a minute to talk about my Dooney and Bork purse.
What's wrong with your
You don't remember
purse?
this?
Wait, what?
You're
I don't
like,
remember
oh,
this.
she doesn't shop at Walmart. She shops at Louis
Oh.
Vuitton. So I just want to talk about my purse for a minute and it will make sense. So when I first saw this purse, I was at the Avengers store at downtown Disney and it was behind glass casing.
Hold on.
And
They
I
have an
heard
Avengers store at downtown Disney?
they damn right they
Oh,
do.
fuck, dude. I'm actually legitimately flying in next week to Disney with the kids
It
and
is
family.
right next to the Star Wars store and there's a Star Wars store and there's a Starbucks across the street. It's over by the bowling alley.
I think I just came.
So right after this store opened, because they totally revamped downtown Disney, it's actually called Disney Springs. But it took me like 15 years to call Hollywood Studios, not MGM. So it'll take me a minute. So the first time I saw this purse, it was behind glass casing and it's a Dooney and Bork, but it has the Avengers logo and it has the Hulk logo and it has Black Widow. And I looked at it and I swear to God, I heard angels and thought, you will be mine. Oh, yes, you will be
That's
mine.
how I'm going to be next week. Are you kidding me? God,
I had that Wayne's World moment, but it was like $160. And I was like, I can't spend that much on a purse. So I went home.
And you got it.
I thought about it and I talked about it. And then one night I told my husband about it. And in his very sarcastic voice, he said, "You deserve that purse. You should buy it," because that's the kind of person he is.
Okay, so no, this actually no, I'm glad you bring this up because I'm gonna circle this and make it about me for a second. I have been struggling with this same dilemma, not about a purse, but
No,
about a
you don't want a purse?
no, I
It's a
can't say that I
satchel.
do. It's a
It's
satchel gun. No, actually, I've been struggling. Do I want a $200 lightsaber that I could share a father-son moment with my children or son, making a Star Wars lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge? Do I want to do that?
the question is, when you get home, are you going to regret not buying it?
I mean, probably.
I only regret the Disney purchases I don't buy.
So, like, I
I'm
might
not
make
a
a
good
Twitter
influence.
poll. I might make a Twitter poll because we're gonna have a beer together
Well,
in
I
Galaxy's
should look
Edge.
it up because I might be able to get you 20% off.
Ooh, and I don't
The
do math.
lightsaber might be an exception. I don't know. Sometimes the high ticket items are,
I'm still
and
really pissed I can't get into their fucking cantina, but that's neither here nor there.
we're still working on that. And the day of, you have to refresh a lot because people cancel last minute.
Oh, dude, we're totally gonna have a beer together in Galaxy's Edge. Anyways, yes, I'm struggling with the same thing. Like, do I want to buy a lightsaber? Because I've bought the plastic shitty ones when they're like $20 when I was
Do you
there
have a
last
red
time.
card from Target?
Yeah.
Okay, so buy gift cards, you get 5% off. We bought an entire cruise and saved a few $100 by paying for the entire cruise on Target gift cards.
God, you're the best.
Every time I would
I don't
go
know.
grocery shopping, I would buy a $100 gift card and I would save $5. And that shit adds up. Okay. And that's what I did with my purse. I bought Target gift cards and I used my pass holder discount. At the time, it was only 10%.
Hmm,
Now it's 20%.
hmm.
And I bought that purse. And this was like 5 years ago. And that's the only purse I use. And it's gorgeous and it's beautiful. And I love it. And it's now mine because I'm like Wayne. Okay. We can
All
move
right,
on.
so then I guess yeah, if you listen to this, let me know if I should buy next week a lightsaber and have a
I don't know who's going to
father-son
say
bond.
no, other than maybe your financial
Should
advisor.
I mean, I work with the financial advisor for the base. That's what's crazy. So, anyways, yeah, what have you read or watched this week?
Falcon and Winter Soldier, a lot of Kevin
Oh
Smith
God, that
stuff.
can we just talk about that episode for a second? Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Pew, wee, 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 meh.
um,
Wow.
so Falcon and Winter Soldier, sponge worthy.
Like, first of all, the acting in this episode was crazy. I love the boat montage between him and Bucky. That was great.
I
Zemo,
liked Bucky hitting on his sister.
Zemo's going to the raft. So we're getting
Yeah.
thunderbolts.
Why wasn't he there to begin with? Shouldn't he been there?
Jurisdiction? I don't know. But then the
But the
Dora Milaje
jurisdiction
was
is,
like, we're
I
going to take
thought
him to
they
the
had
raft. And you're
control
like,
over anything related to the
oh,
Avengers.
I don't know. Honestly, don't know. Have no idea. Is Sharon Carter a bad guy?
I don't think we know yet
Or is she like
because
doing what Nick Fury did and basically set Batrock up?
she might be, because obviously the dude she sent to Carly is bad. We saw that he was bad in
Yeah.
Winter Soldier. But I don't have any opinions on her yet because I honestly have no idea.
I don't know. She's so different from the last time we have seen her. So yeah, I have no idea. Um, Anthony Mackie, his acting kills it, kills it, kills it. And I love the dynamic between him and Bucky. They're friends, but they're just like, we work
They
together.
still
We
refuse to admit it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have a
We're just
mutual
guys.
friend. We're just guys. And that's such a dude friendship too. It's just like, yeah, we're just a couple of dudes hanging out. And I love the montage of Sam just like catching the shield and doing all the workouts. Like it was great. This episode was great. We're not going to dive too into detail, but it was a great episode.
Yeah, and I think that their respect for each other is based on the fact that Steve respected each of them and they
Yeah.
understand how valuable that is.
Oh, and
So,
shout out
yeah.
to Wyatt Russell
But
who killed it with his acting too. Like
mhm.
you kind of almost feel bad for him because there's that scene where he's just standing there like you made me who I am when he's getting his other than honorable discharge. He's like the
Right.
government pretty much said go out and do all this stuff and now you're just tossing me to the side. What the hell? And so you feel for him. You really do. And his
Right.
acting was crazy. And now he's going to be knockoff Captain America because he's in the extra credit scene. He's building his own little shield.
Oh my god, that was so stupid. But yes. But he doesn't fully understand what that shield represents, and you saw it every time
No.
that shield hit the ground and like Falcon or Bucky looked at it, they saw Steve.
Well, yeah,
And
he has no idea. He's just some military beefhead.
right. And the whole Isaiah Bradley thing, like we actually touched on that when we did our Captain America episode back in November. So I really like that they're diving into that and they're not just letting that kind of slip through the fingers. And
Yeah.
I hope he does come back again and we do see more
Well,
of that again.
that's a comic book storyline, so I don't think
Right. That
it's
we
the
talked
actual
about.
game. Yeah, so he's basically explaining to Steve Rogers in the comics, like, this is what the government did to me. Like, you get to come home to this
Hmm.
big reception. They threw my ass in jail and buried me. And
Right. Because he
it,
didn't have permission to save. In the comic, it was he didn't have permission to save the people he saved.
yeah, it's just it's a tale of two worlds, and they handle the social justice issues so well. And I
Hmm.
wasn't a fan for the first episode. I was like, okay, it's good, but I don't see why everyone loves it. And now I'm like, dude, this show is better than WandaVision to me because of how heavy and everything it is.
Right. But coming off WandaVision with the show starting with so much mystery and then ending with such a bang, it was hard to accept anything after
Yeah, for
that to be
sure,
on the same caliber.
for sure.
But yeah, so kind of go into Kevin Smith now. One of the things I did watch was his stand up. I had never watched Kevin Smith's
Oh,
stand
I
up
haven't
before.
watched that yet.
So I didn't really know fully what to expect, but it was hilarious because he always prides himself on I made a living on tick and fart jokes, and that's what all my movies are based on. But his stand up was very much so family related. He taught not family related, like don't bring your kids around and watch it with. But he talks a lot about his wife and his daughter, and it was really funny and it was nice to see that side of him. And unfortunately, I guess, and fortunately in a way, he recorded this, and as soon as he was finished recording it, he actually that's when he had his heart attack. And so he starts the stand up and he says, hey, you're about to watch some stand up I did at this time, and this was right before I had my heart attack. And he goes, and oh, it's so funny now because it's called Silent But Deadly. And he even makes a couple comments that are like, holy crap, this is like foreshadowing. But the whole heart attack, he has looked at this as a huge beneficial thing, and he's
Yeah,
turned his life around and he's gotten healthier and he's done some amazing things since. And so the picture for it, it's on Amazon Prime if anybody wants to watch, is actually him laying on a gurney doing the little like heart symbol and making his, cliche Kevin Smith smile
just like,
without the
yeah.
teeth kind of thing. Yeah. But I did learn while listening to the stand up that Jason Mewes is a big fan of Supernatural.
He is. And if you ever watch or listen to Fat Man Beyond, it's been brought up a bunch of times. Like, Jason Mewes is all about that shit. I love Jason Mewes
I
too.
love it.
He's so
Maybe we should
good.
have Jason Mewes on and not Kevin Smith. Not that we have a choice with either one of them, but
I wish we can have them both. Like, my dream would be have them both on. But at this point, I think Kevin Smith pretty much is like, oh, these guys are always tagging me lately. Like, I'm just gonna
leave
go.
me
Leave
alone.
me alone.
But Jason Mewes, we could just talk Supernatural. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah, Jay. If you listen to this, which you won't, but if you do, hey man, come talk Supernatural because I don't know shit.
Snoogans. All right. News. Talking news, talking news.
I don't have. Okay, first of all, I watched some Kevin Smith stuff too. All right, you just totally gonna blow past that? Like,
Oh, sorry.
I watched Clerks. I watched Dogma. I
We're
watched.
going to talk about all that, though.
We are. So I didn't do anything else. I haven't watched Invincible. So I'm gonna deliver a hot take right here. It's not a hot take. It's just more of my personal opinion. I love the Invincible comics. I'm very indifferent towards the show.
Yeah,
Me,
I feel a little bit the same.
I don't. I find myself wanting to consume the Marvel shows, the whatever else at that, like, as soon as I can. But with Invincible, I'm like, meh, it's there. I'll watch it. It's good, but I'm not dying. I don't love it so much like so many other people are. I'm just very
Mhm.
indifferent towards it, and I know that might be an unpopular opinion, and that's okay. I'm just very, I don't know. I'm just not
No, I agree with
dying
you.
for it.
I haven't watched the one today yet. The comic I can't put down.
Yeah, the comic is great. The
Hmm.
show, I'm just like, meh, it's there. I'll get to it. Whatever. So,
Yeah.
but
I wonder
yeah,
if it's the animation or something. I don't
I
know.
don't know what it is. I
Because I
can't
mean, this
pinpoint it.
the story they do drop twists and turns, but they're doing things in very different chronological order. I think I said that last week as well. But
Yeah,
I don't know. It's different. Yeah. I thought maybe it was because I'm not a huge fan of animation. But
no,
all right, you have
I'm
one
with
piece
you.
of news.
Oh, yeah, I don't really have much news other than Repop, who was in my beercation video for Idaho. If you haven't seen that, go to youtube.com/hops news. They have Idaho's only Zoltar. Everybody should know what Zoltar is. It's like the
Yeah.
sidekick stupid game that tells your fortune. Yeah, Repop has it. Repop
Just
is a
big. It's
great.
big.
It is. And Repop honestly is such a great store. So if you're ever in Boise, it's right across the street from Edge Brewing Company on 10th Street. Go check them out. And that's all I have.
All right, I got a few things, nothing huge. So the fifth Indiana Jones movie is coming July 29th, 2022. Avengers Campus at Disneyland in California opens June 4th. Um, this is big news in my circle of friends. Everybody was very upset today when we learned that Disney has gotten rid of a certain kind of structure that was in Morocco. There was a certain part of the structure that looked very phallic that everybody would take pictures with, and we've been doing
Yes.
it for years. And it recently, since the pandemic, somehow became big on social media. It has been called the Epcock, the Moroccock, and the Hidden Dicky, and it has been replaced with a door and appears to have been circumcised. So we shall give a moment of silence. Now, my question though, so with each of the countries at Epcot, those countries actually sponsor their country
Oh,
at Epcot.
really?
And in Morocco, nothing in Morocco is perfect because, and don't quote me on this again. God is not perfect, so humans cannot make anything that is perfect. So there's intentional errors in some of the stuff in that country of Morocco. So
Yeah.
my question is, when they decided to change this from a very much so phallic figure to a door with a smaller phallic figure, did they have to consult the leaders of Morocco? Because I would have loved to have seen that conversation with Disney execs and the people of Morocco. Like, look, Americans are very
Guys, this is
perverted
just a
and they are
giant dick.
now twerking in front of this figure.
There's
Like,
Facebook pages that they're literally twerking in front of this dick. All right, guys.
so there, I woke up to that news this morning on my beer text chain. It's gone because we would always do drinking around the world with no kids the day after UCF's
That
homecoming,
sucks
and
because I'm coming there. We could have taken the
I
picture
was
in front of the giant's
anticipating
dick.
I was anticipating showing it to you, and it was
Damn
actually
it.
on their map.
You were going to show me the
Actually, I
dick.
should check if it's still on the map. But it was always fun. So it sounds terrible. So my daughter's older, and so she brought her boyfriend to Epcot a couple months ago, and she went to
And
go
she
show it to
showed him
him.
the dick.
She did. I wasn't with her, but she's telling me the story later.
You
And so
did
they
what? Mom, no, I showed him the dick.
right.
Okay.
So it's in like the back of Morocco. And so her boyfriend goes, "Is this it?" And some stranger was walking by and goes, "This is it."
This is it, son. It doesn't
Yeah.
get much better than this.
So she comes, yeah, once we met up, she's telling me this. Okay, so we'll move on. Keanu Reeves has arrived in Germany to start beginning to film John Wick 4. David Tennant's son, Ty, will be in the next season of Doom Patrol. All
Ooh.
right, so now our main topic.
Thank God, because I'm almost out of this beer because it's so crushable. I'm about to open up my
It
next
is
one.
very crushable.
Damn it. I'm
And if,
saving. You sent me two. I'm saving the
yes.
other one for part two. So I can't drink them both in the same night.
And if you have a pop up near you, I know we mentioned before, like different breweries are doing different collabs, but like I've seen some sweet labels with like Jay and Silent Bob
I
actually
would
on them.
literally suck your dick just to get some of those collab beers.
That is inappropriate, as we're about to talk about shows with interspecies erotica.
Speaking of, come see Kinky Kelly for some interspecies erotica.
Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's
You're
start
right.
with
You're right.
Clerks
All
1.
right. So my man Kevin Smith, right? I have been
1994.
following this man in his work. He has done phenomenal
I
films.
hope not since 1994 because you were real little.
I was 4, but no, when I became a adolescent child and then into my teenage years, we discovered the Mallrats, and then we kind of spun out from there and got into Clerks. We went to Clerks 2, Dogma, and then even like if his later films I loved. I didn't love, but Tusk was such a creepy film with Justin Long in it. And then there is a Oh, I just totally blanked on what the hell it was. Yoga Hosers. Yoga Hosers featuring
Oh,
his
yeah.
daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter, and Johnny Depp is actually in it as well. And
But that's
so
part of why he made the reboot. He didn't want that movie to be his last movie.
yeah, and so obviously he made Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and then also he's working on Mallrats 2. He's been trying
And
to get
Clerks 3.
he's been trying to get Clerks 3 made, but pretty much he gets to go into like these Netflix type places, and then they just oh, that's such an awesome idea, and then they just never contact him
Well, there
again.
was also
So
an issue. The guy that played Randall, it took
he
some convincing to do Clerks 2, and then he's not in the reboot.
no,
Um,
he quit acting altogether. He
well,
lives
he
in
got
like
a
the
little bit
mountains.
pigeonholed because he sounds like Randall and like he can't escape Randall. He has a very distinct voice. But let's start with Clerks. Came out in
Yep.
1994. If you want to watch it, it's on HBO Max. This was picked up by Sundance, and Kevin Smith movies aren't just movies. They're full of Easter
Sure.
eggs and
Yeah.
nods to each other, and they're all somehow connected. And they ones I focused on were all the ones that featured Jay and Silent Bob.
That's
Um,
fair. Well, he Jay and Silent Bob pretty much appear in almost all of his flicks, except for obviously Yoga Hosers. And I just over poured this beer, and this beer is spilling all over my floor.
beers. You need to go get a towel. I got you. I'll keep talking Clerks if you need to go get a towel. Okay. So Clerks is in the day a day in the life of the convenience store clerk and a dude who works in the video store next door, which obviously is very outdated. So Quick Stop actually is still open to this day, but the video store is obviously not. And Kevin Smith actually worked at the Quick Stop while they were even filming this movie. He worked during the day and they filmed at night. So outside of Chasing Amy, Clerks 2, and the reboot, I did not watch any of these movies. Actually, I watched all of these movies before I got into Star Wars and comics. So rewatching all of this was a lot of fun for me because I enjoyed these movies before I got into this stuff. So listening
Damn.
to the argument about like the Death Star being blown up with, or the second Death Star being blown up with independent contractors in it, was a lot more hilarious this time than it was when I was 16 and my girlfriend and I are asking our boyfriends why the fuck they're making us watch a black and white movie. And they're like, just wait, it's gonna get good. And we're like, why the fuck are we watching a black and white movie?
This
This is
movie's black and
stupid.
white. It's 1994. God damn it.
Well, we were watching it in like 1999. In 1994, we were still a little young. But so, and like my friend's, her boyfriend the poster Blunt Man and Chronic, and so our boyfriends are like, just watch the movie. And when I went to the movies pop up, and I was with my husband, who was like, I don't even think I've seen this. I was like, well, I wish I was here with Brandy, Nick, and Ben because we'd have a lot more fun because we watched all these movies together. He's like, you would have more fun if Ben was here right now. You're right.
That's true.
So shout out to Ben. He listens to some of our episodes. So if you're listening
Hey,
to this
Ben,
one,
thank you so much. Shout out to you. This episode's dedicated to you.
yep, Ben and Little Nick, you got Brandy and I into Kevin Smith movies. Okay, so what do you got on this movie before I go into more
Yeah,
into
so we just
Clerks?
rewatched it the other day, and I forgot a lot of this. I remember some of the parts, and the one line everybody loves to quote is "I'm not even supposed to be here today." I swear to God, I quote that movie more than anything else because that's just the one thing. Like you're at work and shit's going sideways, and you're like, "I'm not even supposed to be here today." That's what always sticks to me. And this is like your introduction to Jay, Silent Bob. They're there. I never knew that they filmed at night, to be honest with you. I just always kind of was like, oh, black and white. That's such a rad idea.
Well,
And
it was
went
cheaper
with
to
it.
film that way.
It makes sense. No, you're right. It does make sense because you're not worried about all the other extra stuff. So
Well, and Kevin Smith maxed out his credit cards to
he
get this
did.
movie made,
This
and the
was,
whole putting gum in the locks to put up the sheet to say I assure you we're open. That's so they didn't have to explain why there wasn't natural light inside the quick stop because they were filming at night.
I will say, I will say that, um the guy, so when he was working at this there or earlier like the late 80s, Kevin Smith was working with a, I'll get into this more in the comics, but the guy he was working with got him into the Dark Knight Rises or the Dark Knight Returns comic book, and then that's what spiraled his comic book love. So shout out to that man.
Ah, fun.
Boom.
See,
That's all I got on
you'll
this
be good
one.
on that. I know the movies well. I don't know the comics well, but um yeah, this movie's hilarious. Very subtle, gross stuff. You got the shell shock guidance counselors was hilarious. And I don't want to spoil too much of it because if you haven't seen these movies, you should definitely watch them. And if you have seen them, then this is just fun facts, behind the scenes and going a bit nostalgic. But when Miramax actually picked it up, they added a soundtrack, and the soundtrack cost more than making the actual film. And I'll jump
Mm,
ahead to the reboot for a second. So there's in the reboot they end up at like basically like a Comic Con kind
yeah.
of thing, but for Kevin Smith movies almost. It's supposed to be for Bluntman and Chronic. And there's a scene with clerks, and they walk into the clerks room where they're doing the whole like table thing, and they're all in black and white. The special effects cost to make them look like they were in black and white cost more than the entire budget for a Clerks movie. So that's how far Kevin Smith has come. The milkmaid in this movie is actually Kevin Smith's mom, and she does reappear in Clerks too.
Ooh.
But he has a lot of, he maxed out his credit card, so obviously he used a lot of friends and family. His sister played the woman who inseminates animals, and a friend of his played four different customers. Jay is actually based off of Jason Mewes, but he would get a bit camera shy, so the crew would actually buy him beer regularly to like warm him up. And his dance scene, they had to like clear the set so he was comfortable doing his little, by the time they did Clerks 2, he was fine doing it in front of an audience. But like when he's like moving all around, like he needed like nobody there but like Kevin Smith or whatever. Um, and the scene where he starts talking to Dante, like, she made you lasagna and she doesn't cheat on you. Those were supposed to be lines by Jason Mewes, but he was like, I can't deliver those lines. So that is why Silent Bob says something in each movie. That's where it started, where like each movie he says something. Sometimes it's profound, sometimes it's simply he didn't have a ticket. But that's where that started, where he'll say like one thing. So it was because he was
Oh,
helping out his friend because his friend didn't feel comfortable.
didn't actually
Um,
know this.
and Jay and Silent Bob, Kevin and Jason Mewes, they are as
No,
close as
they're heterosexual.
everyone
That's where I got
thinks.
my term for my
Oh yeah,
friend
yeah, yeah.
Josh.
I know that.
Heterosexual life mate. That is where, my
The first
heterosexual
time you
life
said
mate.
that, I
Yeah.
knew where that came from, 100%.
That
But
is
they are that in real life, not just the movies.
well, Kevin's agent is Jason Mewes' wife, Jordan. And
Right.
so, yeah, and they are very, very, very close. And that's a friendship we can only ever hope to have in life.
They even like live down the street from each other and
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so let's move on to Mallrats. So
Oh,
that
this
is on
is
Tubi TV. It's free with commercials. You can download it. So yeah, go ahead.
Mallrats. This was my introduction. This was the first Kevin Smith movie I actually ever saw. We were probably about we were teenage. I don't know the exact age, but we would all get high in my friend's garage. And
What?
I know the devil's lettuce. Oh my
Who
god.
smoked the blunts? Smash smoked the blunts.
Kevin would be so proud. But we would do that in my friend's garage, and because he had a sweet setup, there was like a TV couch. We'd play video games, and one day we were like, "Let's go watch Mallrats," and we're like, "Hell yeah, whatever that is." And it was spoke to my soul because it's about these nerds, comic nerds, and Brody. They would just hang out at the mall, and that's what we would used to do. And so this movie, we're like, hell yeah, this is amazing. And this cast is studded. You got Ben
Mm-hmm.
Affleck, you have Michael Rooker, he's in it. Uh
That's Yandu.
yeah, Ethan, I can't remember his last name. It's the fat dude, but he's really, really super jacked now. I just
Well,
can't remember. It's
a
it's
lot
not
of
a
these
sailboat,
kids
it's
had
a
just come off
schooner.
Dazed and Confused. You had Joey
Yeah.
Lauren Adams, like a bunch of them were. Are you talking about the twins?
No, I'm talking about the fat dude who's staring at the painting the whole
Oh,
time.
Brenda,
Like he's the
the
dude.
guy that says Brenda.
Yeah. And it's so funny because my favorite line to quote from this movie is it's like, you dumb idiot, or whatever it is. It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat. A schooner is a sailboat.
He does that to the
The
little
Easter
kid.
Bunny isn't even real. That I love that line. That line is so good. And then you got the pretzels with the stink palm.
Mm,
But as my wife had pointed out, I didn't realize that Brody meets Stan Lee himself in Stink Palm Stan Lee because he shakes his hand with the same hand he was rubbing his asshole with.
mm-hmm.
Poor Stan Lee got stink palmed.
Didn't he say he
Disgusting.
washed his hands in between? But I was still like, but they
Yeah,
even make a
but for
comment like
movie,
that
but
doesn't
no,
go. That
but
smell
for
doesn't go
movie
away.
purposes, though, like this is all happening
Oh, I
within
thought
like
that same thing. Yeah.
yeah. So Michael Rooker is obviously playing the asshole dad. And oh, I have an even better story for you for this. So Jeremy London plays TS.
Okay, time out for a second. So Jeremy London, I always get the twins confused. Is
Yes,
he the
the other
same
one
one
played no,
from
Jeremy London did not play. I
In
don't
Dazed
think.
and Confused?
Oh,
What
I
about
think
Out Cold?
no, no, no. I thought sorry, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure his twin brother played in Seventh Heaven.
Oh, I didn't see that
Yeah.
coming.
His
What
brother
about
was
Out Cold and Dazed and Confused?
uh
Hold on, I got it up right here.
I don't know. You look that up. I'm going to tell my story real quick. So
Okay.
we were at Pensacon It was 2015, February 2015.
Pensacon?
So Pensacola, Florida does a
Oh,
Pensacon every year. This is
never
when I
heard of
was
that.
living in that area. And so my wife and I, we were dating at the time, and we went to Pensacon. The Power Rangers was there. Fuck yeah.
Pensacon.
Fucking love the Power Rangers. And I had just had a moment with the Black Power Ranger. We were going upstairs to go meet the Power Rangers, and the room is crowded. There's so much going on. My wife, she trips over a stroller. And guess whose stroller it was? It was Jeremy London pushing his kid around to get to wherever he was going because he was at the same con, and he was pissed. This dude was super fucking mad, right? For no reason. Like, you're in a crowded environment. And then, we both are like, oh my God, we're so sorry. We didn't really recognize him at the time. I was like, this guy looks familiar. But we were like, oh my God, we're so sorry. His wife, super cool. She was like, don't worry about it. But he was so pissed off. And that's just like
That's lame.
our story about Jeremy London, who nobody knows who he is anymore. Because is he even in movies? I don't know.
Didn't he
But
get chubby?
he probably did. But it was hilarious. We tripped over his kid at Pensacon 2015.
So it looks like he's the one that was in Seventh Heaven.
Oh, so he was in Seventh Heaven. I know he has a twin brother.
Yeah, and I think the twin brother was the one in Dazed and Confused and Out Cold. It looks
Well,
like
look at that. We're learning something new every day, kids.
Jason London.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joey Lauren Adams was in, and Ben Affleck were both in Mallrats and in Dazed and Confused. And Dazed and Confused is not a Kevin Smith movie, but Ben Affleck was actually he wanted the role of TS because he didn't want to be the douchebag again.
Yeah.
Douchebag is my word, but he was concerned that he would be like pigeonholed as the
Yeah. The
douchebag
typecast.
because, yeah, typecast. That's probably a better word. Um, oh, and he was also into Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. That's a fun movie.
Well,
The one that was in Dazed and Confused,
yeah.
which I'm still looking for Out Cold. Out Cold is a great movie and very underrated.
I do have a
And
story
it's
about Joey Lauren
actually got
Adams. Lauren?
Zach
I don't think I said her
Galifianakis.
name right. But
She dated Kevin Smith, and
God
she was
damn it.
actually
God damn
sorry.
you. No, this leads into Chasing Amy. So go finish your parts
All
about
right, so let's finish
this.
Mallrats and go to Chasing Amy. Okay. So Mallrats actually did terrible in the theaters. I already mentioned the
Yeah.
Ben
They were
Affleck, or
they thought this was gonna like break bank in theaters, and then it
yeah,
didn't, which
but I
is
think
kind of
over
sad.
time it worked out well. But the studio actually made Jason Mewes audition for Jay against Seth Green. After they started filming, they were okay with him, but like this part was made for Jay, and like once like Miramax or whoever it was at this point that came in, they were like, no, 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 no. So that's got to be awkward to have to audition for a part that was literally made for
Like
you. So
I wrote this role for you, but they're making you audition. That's just shitty practice. I mean, it's Hollywood, so of course that bullshit's gonna happen.
Hollywood.
But yeah, it's that's just shitty.
But the whole movie happened because a girl who died in Clerks. So the funeral that
Julie.
yeah, and they wanted to actually go into the funeral, but the budget wouldn't allow it, which is why they go running out of the funeral home and they're like, "I can't believe you knocked over the casket."
Oh,
So,
but they actually added in a cartoon version.
yes, I haven't seen any of those.
I
I
did.
need to
That's the
watch
version I just
those.
watched. Actually, was
Oh,
the
that's too
cartoon where
funny.
they talk. So wait, was Julie actually TS's Julie?
So in Mallrats, it started because yes, the girl who did the laps that died, TS's girlfriend Brandy had to replace her in her dad's dating show, which is how the whole movie
Oh.
started. So these movies are very connected. And okay, so I just want to say something real quick. I love Kevin Smith for giving us the true fans, like when he did Jay and Silent Bob, and you had
Gonna get
Jason Lee
you,
playing
the people.
Brody and Banky. He
Yeah.
was saying, you know what? If you're a true fan, you understand these are two different people, and I'm giving you this because you're a true fan and you're going to enjoy this. But then Marvel comes out and they couldn't give us the Netflix Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, fuck you Iron Fist, but like because they were concerned people were going to be confused. No, we watch those shows. Give them to us. Award the people who are watching everything and understand. So
I
thank
feel
you,
like we're
Kevin
still gonna
Smith,
get them.
for creating the first universe and allowing your true fans to really relish in what you call your toys and playing with your toys. Thank you. Okay. So back off my soapbox.
No, I 100% agree. Give us the people what we want.
And hell yeah to Jay saying, "Call me Wolverine," and he's going to go berserker rage. So, and the kryptonite condom conversation was amazing.
I
Very
love
much, yeah.
the part where they're the conversation. So Dante, his character is up. It's not Dante. He's
No,
playing a different
it's
character,
Gil
but
Hicks.
yes.
So
So they're up
Brian
there on the
O'Halloran
stage.
is three different Hicks throughout the movies.
Yes. And I love that he's sitting there and he's giving these cliche answers. And then Brody's like,
All
Jesus
right, during the
Christ, do you
dating show.
believe this shit? And then Brody starts telling a story of like his cousin who's on the airplane. The airplane went into turbulence and he just starts whipping it and starts jacking it. And then everybody on the plane just pulls their piece out and starts jacking it. And then all of a sudden the plane corrects and lands and nobody speaks a word. And the guy, and then Hicks is like, well, did he come or
Did he
what?
finish?
And I
Right.
always say this too, like, Jesus, did he come or what? And it's like, Jesus Christ, you just can't talk about some things.
After he had said all that.
Oh
Uh,
my God, it is so perfect. And a lot of the conversations that they have in these earlier Kevin Smith movies are conversations that I have had, or I still have. And it's so perfect to me because they're real, they feels like they're real people.
yeah, and because I think because you see them over the years too,
Yeah.
and you know it's the same group of people with the same yes,
Yeah.
with the same people.
And so Stan Lee, this
Yeah,
exists in
so
the Captain
young.
Marvel universe, and Captain Marvel exists in this universe. So we have a little universe action.
Yeah, Kevin Smith exists in the MCU because Stan Lee is reading the script for Mallrats in Captain Marvel when Captain Marvel smiles at him.
Yep,
So all of these movies exist in the MCU.
we're connected.
Exactly.
It's true.
And this movie ends with Jay and Silent Bob and an orangutan, which we see that later in Jay and Silent Bob
We
Strike Back.
do.
And it even
Yes,
says that's a story for another
you
time.
call me the Click Commander. Anyways, we're gonna roll
So
into Chasing Amy, which, oh my gosh, her name. I always forget her name.
Alyssa.
No.
Oh, Joey Lauren Adams?
Yes, because she's in Big Daddy as well. She's the one that
Yes.
he falls in love with. So Kevin Smith
If
was
you don't
dating
go on a
her.
date with him, I might develop a stutter.
Please
Papa,
don't do this to
please.
me.
Yeah.
Do you love the Sticks?
I was just going to say sticks.
Sticks is the greatest band of all time.
Yes. I
But
feel like a lot of dudes love her. She's adorable in that voice.
yeah, so her and Kevin Smith actually dated and he was really shitty to her. So this was kind of his cathartic like apology to her for all the shitty
Oh, I
stuff that
didn't know
he
that.
did. Yeah. So Chasing Amy was kind of like his homage and reconciling things to her for being so shitty. And this movie, I don't remember too much of it to be honest with you because I liked it, but I didn't love it.
See, I really like this one, and I didn't watch this one recently because when COVID hit, this was actually one of the movies I watched early on.
Oh.
Actually, I meant to see if it was still on Netflix. It was
I
on
haven't
Netflix. My
rewatched it
husband,
yet.
well, my husband had never seen it, so I was like, "Oh, well, Joey Lauren Adams makes out with a chick at the early on." I thought he would be thrilled, but he just fell asleep like he usually does.
I was awake for that portion.
But for anyone who hasn't seen this, it's you see a lot of comic book stuff though, and this was one of the first movies I ever watched where that you're truly like into like the comic book universe,
Yeah.
even if you're not into that. So it's about a straight dude, Ben Affleck, and he is a comic book writer, and he falls in love with a lesbian comic book writer, and that is Alyssa Jones, who is Joey Lauren Adams. She's also Amy, which a lot of people get that confused. Well, she's not Amy, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Alyssa says at one point she had sex with Shannon Hamilton in college. That's actually Ben Affleck's character in Mallrats. So I'm showing more of how it's all
Ooh.
connected. And she was the girl who Silent Bob kept crashing into in the dressing room.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Um, but one of my, I love when they actually bond and Ben Affleck and Joey Lauren Adams find out that they were, which is Holden and Alyssa. They find out they're from the same town in Jersey. And she's like, "Oh, I had a friend who died in the pool." And he's like, "Oh, I knew that girl." And she's like, "I had a friend who fucked a dead guy in the bathroom." And that's from Clerks. And he's like, "Oh, I knew that girl." So that's how all these are kind of connected. But Kevin Smith, there's a lot of things where he comes up with ideas for scenes. And if it doesn't work out because the studio doesn't approve, which seems like that's usually what happens, or if it doesn't follow the storyline, he'll put it in another movie. So one of the scenes that happened in Chasing Amy, do you remember the sex scar story
Yeah.
between Brody and no, it's not Brody, Banky. I'm sorry, Banky and Alyssa, where they're talking about all these scars they have from going down on different girls or having sex with different girls. So that was supposed to be in Mallrats, and Miramax or whoever did it was like, no, 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 that's too much. But I think it was very well placed in Chasing Amy because it gave
Yeah,
those two characters a chance to bond.
agreed. Definitely agree. Oh gosh. Are we going into that's I don't have much to say about this one. I'll be honest.
That's fine. We'll say a little bit more about this one when we talk about Reboot because
True.
Reboot had a little scene that was like a Chasing Amy sequel. So that was 1997. It was on Netflix a year ago. I don't remember if it still is.
I
I
don't
will
think it
follow
still
up.
is.
I meant to
We'll
look that
let
one
you
up.
know.
But yes, Dogma, the
This
most
is my
controversial one.
yes, this is my actual favorite Kevin Smith film. And this cast is so fucking stacked, dude.
It is.
Like you have Ben Affleck, you have Matt Damon, you have Chris Rock, you have Alan Rickman, of course you got Jennifer
Selma
Cobb, Selma
Blyek?
Hayek. Selma
Selma
Hayek is
Hayek.
in it. And
She's awesome.
like this cast is so fucking stacked. And it's basically about two angels who have fell from heaven. They're trying to get back into heaven, and it's got Dan Carlin who plays a cardinal who Buddy Christ, he
Which
invents
you
him.
know him. Even if you don't
Yeah,
know, you do. You know him.
you
If
see
you've
the
ever seen
memes.
Jesus smiling with like two fingers pointing at you,
Finger guns, yes.
and you see him again in Clerks 2, the reboot, and you
Yeah,
see him in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
so he's in this. So you can't actually find a copy of this movie because Kevin Smith called out Harvey Weinstein for being
For
such a
being
prick.
a right.
And Harvey Weinstein and company said, okay, we're going to basically purge all copies of this film. You
It's
can,
on YouTube.
it is on YouTube. I can find it from other ways that might be considered unnatural to some.
If only we had Blockbuster.
Ah,
But
Blockbuster.
yeah, so the Angels though are Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, and
Yes,
I'm sure a lot of people
Loki
know
and
this though. Yeah,
Barnaby.
but Matt Damon played Loki and Ragnarok in the play, and obviously that is a nod to Kevin Smith. So again, a nod
Yeah,
to Kevin Smith in the MCU. And this movie, I believe, was the first appearance of Moobies in his
it was.
films.
Yes, it was.
So, and it was an awesome scene where Loki, Matt Damon, like kills all the board members of movies, and they have
Oh
like
my
the
gosh,
golden
not you. You're
calf.
pure. The one he's
Yeah,
like,
the one person
you're
was pure.
pure.
But I love that they had the golden calf
But
of
you didn't say
movies.
God bless you when I sneezed.
And then Barnaby is like, okay, we're done
Let's
here.
go. You're lucky.
But yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So Kevin Smith, it's funny to kind of drum up hype for this movie. He went out and protested because it has to do with religion. So a lot of the religious nuts were out there protesting this film. And there's like a scene on the news of Kevin Smith front and center protesting this fucking movie. And it's
So
genius.
I highly recommend YouTubing this. It's so funny because the video I found, it was actually after I had watched Dogma on YouTube. It came up as like a suggested video. And it's Kevin Smith, but looks like he's at like a Comic-Con and he's talking about how he heard there was going to be a protest for Dogma in like his hometown. So he went out there with Brian Johnson, who's one of his best friends. I think he was in Clerks.
Yeah.
He's probably in a bunch of stuff because Kevin Smith puts, he's like Adam Sandler, puts all his friends in his movies. And they went out there and protested. And he said when the news reporter came out, she's like looking at her clipboard and then looking at Kevin Smith and looking back down and looking at him and like flat out called him out and was like, you look like the guy that made this movie. And he's like, no, that's not me. I'm Brian Johnson. And then at the end of this Comic-Con clip of him explaining the story, they show the clip of him on the news. It's hilarious. And they're like a man
It
who
is
looks very
beautiful.
similar to Kevin Smith.
It is beautiful. It is just so beautiful.
It was.
But yeah, so this movie again, you have Chris Rock as the 13th apostle, Alan Rickman is an angel, and
As
Alanis
Metatron.
Morissette also
Not
makes an appearance
Megatron.
as God. And this one, it was actually kind of made because Kevin Smith grew up in a Catholic home and he struggled with religion, and that's why
He
this
says
movie
he's
was
still
made.
religious though.
Yes, yeah. But this movie was kind of like his way of showing how he struggles with it. And there's a lot of questions that are good questions within this film that are have to
Mm-hmm.
do with religion. And I agree. I'm the same way. Like I believe that there is a God. However, I don't believe that God is this all powerful, smiteful being. Just because like honest to God, church people are the worst people I've ever fucking met in my life.
I know. And isn't that ironic?
It is insane. They are the most
Don't you
judgmental
think?
human beings. Look at our politics. Look at everyday life. You have these people who are like, I love Jesus, but then they're out here like just being straight assholes. And
Yeah.
that's why I have a hard time with religion myself. Like, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to throw dollar bills at Jesus. Like, no. And then you've got all these Catholic
Well, it's
priests
not
who
a
fucking
strip
touch
club.
kids and shit. And it's just like, okay, fuck this. Fuck religion. It's all
Mhm.
built for somebody to just feel better about dying. When we all die, the light probably just turns off and that's it. So
No, it's hard. No, I grew up in church and like to see people, yeah, desecrate it to what and I grew up seeing good people do good things through the church and then to see everything be
like
commercialized.
whatever
But
you need, but we're literally fighting wars with other countries over religion, and it's like you all believe in the same god,
right.
but just how you get there and you're all fighting over it. Like, fuck that, it's all stupid. I
But a
feel
lot of the
strongly
people
about
that
this.
were protesting would say, well, have you seen the movie? No. But what's funny, they asked Kevin Smith, have you seen the movie? He goes, no, but I heard Kevin Smith movies are really good.
It's smart marketing, beautiful
Yeah.
marketing, beautiful.
But
So
let's move on to Jay
well,
and
yeah,
Silent
I could
Bob
go on
Strike
more about
Back.
this, but Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. um
2001. This is the year I graduated from high school.
oh
So,
god, I was a
oh,
boo
I
boo
never even
kitty
thought about this.
fuck.
So, my mom graduated from high school the year the first Star Wars movie came out, and I graduated from high school when Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back came out.
I didn't realize this is 2001. Mark
Yeah.
Hamill is in this movie.
Yeah. I didn't know who
I,
Mark Hamill was the first time I saw this
oh
fucking
my
movie.
god, I didn't see this movie obviously when it
Okay.
first came out,
So we
but
have immediate references to Clerks and Mallrats,
yeah.
and at the very beginning, you see baby Silent Bob and baby Jason or Jay at in front of the quick stop. So the baby Silent Bob is actually Kevin Smith's daughter.
Oh yeah, Harley Quinn.
Yeah, Harley Quinn Smith.
She
Yes,
shows
who
up in yoga
plays,
hosers and stuff too.
and she's Jay's daughter in the reboot. But
Yep.
yes. So Affleck mentions in the movie doing this movie as a favor, and him and Damon actually look straight at the screen, and that's because Kevin Smith brought Goodwill Hunting to Harvey Weinstein.
Ooh.
Which when we say him, we're gonna pretend he's not a terrible human being
Oh, it's
because
so
it's
nice seeing that he's having such a hard time in prison. Good,
I
you
know, but it's
fat
so weird
fuck.
watching
Go
these
die.
movies you love and then seeing his name at the end because you're like,
Well, his
oh,
brother distanced himself very much from Harvey. So
sure
his
everyone
brother.
did and all plants did as well. But okay, let's move on. Jay and Silent Bob did a cameo on Scream 3 and they got flipped off by Gail Weathers and her terrible bangs.
Oh my god, I know.
And so you actually see Brenda or Shannon Doherty or what was her name in Mallrats? Shit.
Ah, god, I can't remember. She was also in Charmed.
I don't remember what her name was in
Ah,
that. Okay.
fuck it.
But
Guess what we fucked
she
up next week?
is pretending to be in Scream, and yeah, and then that's
Yeah.
when the orangutan has the Scream mask on. So that's a little nod to that. When the jewel thieves get their pizza, the name of the pizza place is called Joe's Marvelous Pizza, and the man delivering the pizza is no other than Joe Quesada. How do you say his name?
Casada? I don't know, but he's been
Editor in
on
chief of
Fat Man
Marvel
Beyond.
Comics. He's kind
Yeah.
of a big deal.
So he's done plenty of interviews on Fat Man,
I had no
Batman,
idea that was
Fat Man
him.
Beyond. I didn't either until later on, but yeah, he's in it. He's great. And also, side note, I just want to
Renee.
point.
Her name's Renee. I didn't even need to look it up. Renee.
Oh, I don't remember. So Boo Boo Kitty Fuck. I don't remember her actual
Shannon
name.
Elizabeth. Oh, Justice.
No, Justice. Boo Boo Kitty Fuck. She's actually an American Pie
Well,
as
her name's Shannon
Nadia.
Elizabeth. Yeah.
Oh well,
That's her
no.
real
What?
name. Shannon
Who?
Elizabeth is her actual name.
Nadia?
Nadia is her name in American Pie.
Okay, well, she's an American Pie.
Yes.
I had a crush on her as a kid. There you go.
I think every guy did. Oh, she was very tan boobies. Okay. So I do have a question though. I don't think since 2001 I have been able to say if somebody says $15, what do you say?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Really?
I haven't
15
rewatched
bucks,
this.
little man, put that shit in my hand.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't gotten to this
I
rewatch yet.
still
That's
like even not even rewatching it. It'll still like my husband has not seen it and he still knows the song. You owe me, oh, my jungle love. Oh we oh. No.
I
And they
don't
go, who smokes
remember.
the
I gotta
blunts?
go
You smokes
watch.
the blunts. Oh my gosh. Yes. I can't ever hear anytime somebody says $15, I start
I'm
singing.
just
Okay.
throwing. I'm gonna probably end up throwing like a million clips into this episode. Just FYI.
I love that, especially the beers, drinking beers. Okay, so
Click Commander.
But they have so many fun. It's almost like Deadpool. All the fun little things, like they have the doobie snacks where they see
Yeah.
the Scooby. You know, they're in a sort of looking mystery machine, even though it's subtle enough that they don't get
Yeah.
sued. But they even was a Chris Rock even says like George Lucas is gonna sue somebody.
So hold on though. Kevin Smith's wife is in this movie?
Yeah, she's one of the jewel thieves. She's the only jewel thief that's not recognizable from a late '90s teenage coming of age
I
movie.
honest to God never knew that she was in this.
You know, she looks damn good because I remember rewatching this and being like, shit, she must have had her kid after this movie. And then I was like, oh no, her kid's at the beginning of this movie because she looks good.
Wow. Had no idea. Good. Good for
She's the
her.
one that's not doing the flips and stuff when they actually go to steal the jewels. So she's the one that's not in Varsity Blues or the cheering movie
God,
with
Varsity
Kristen
Blues.
Dunst
Oh, that's Bring
or
It
American
On.
Pie.
Okay.
Bring it on. Sorry, I should have known that.
God.
So she's the one that's not in those three movies.
Jesus.
Well, she's also in Clerks too. She's the one that's dating Dante in Clerks too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, I have a lot of useless knowledge in my head. So what else we got? Oh, when Princess Leia was in this, you know, she plays the nun.
Yeah.
So she's got the Jesus, like I had said before, from Dogma. He's on her dashboard like a little hula doll. It's
It's
the
great that
Jesus.
Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill are both in this film.
It's the first movie they've both been in since the last or Return of the Jedi, and they did not know they were both in this movie until
And fucking Kevin Smith did it.
I
Like, are you
know.
kidding me? The man is a
God bless you, Kevin
genius.
Smith.
He hates us, but he's a
Okay,
genius.
so real quick, I'm going to say my favorite part, and then I'm probably going to shut up and let you take over, even though I probably have more stuff. But
Well,
okay,
we can
so
just keep rolling.
the part with Kevin Smith when they go through the thing when they're running away from Will Ferrell and the orangutan goes through the thing and then Jay goes through the thing and then Kevin Smith gets stuck. So when we saw the movie, I think I was in the theater with again, was I
Hold
dating
on.
with
Kevin Smith
Ben, Brandy,
liked
and Nick?
my tweet that we were recording this
Yes.
episode. Just an FYI.
Awesome. So when he went through that, Brandy and I are like, man, he got stuck like Winnie the Pooh. And the boyfriend's like, are you guys seriously referencing Winnie the Pooh? And then Jay goes, man, just like Winnie the Pooh. He totally gets stuck
I
like
think
Winnie the Pooh.
honestly, like Jay sells these movies for me just the dumb shit he says. I love that
I know,
man
I
so
love
much.
it.
I sincerely love that man so much.
When hearing the stand up, hearing him talk about the Flash and everything and talking about Stephen Amell, I was like, oh my God, I love him even more. This is amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he makes a cameo in the Flash. And it was funny. I had forgotten about that and I YouTubed it when I was watching. I was like, oh, I do remember this scene. But okay, so let's move on. All right. You
After
got
Jay
anything
and
else for
Silent
this?
Bob Strike Back, we go to Clerks 2, which
Wait,
has
real quick though,
Rosario. Oh, okay.
at the end of Jay and Silent Bob, though, you see a lot of characters coming back and doing little cameos. So again, he's tying it together because he thought that he might be tying everything up in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. So he kind of tried to close the book. And there's actually a post-credit scene with Alanis Morissette closing the book and saying the end. But there is a bookmark in the middle of the book. And now we go to Clerks 2.
Clerks 2, starring Rosario Dawson, my
And a
girl,
donkey.
and a donkey,
Ahsoka
Kinky
Tana.
Kelly. And I love one thing that I love from this is the Lord of the Rings Star Wars. Like Randall's like, oh, Lord of the Rings. They're just walking, walking,
It's
walking. Oh,
amazing.
walking, walking. Oh, drop the ring. Ugh. And it makes the guy throw up. Like oh my, as a fan of both of these, I fucking love it so goddamn much. It's amazing.
Well, and the guy throwing up is in the Marvel show Runaways. He's one of the dads.
Oh, no way. I had no idea. Oh,
Well, I kept
goodness.
thinking like, why does that guy look familiar? And then it like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. So,
So he's the dad of the daughter who can talk to the dinosaur.
yeah, they're working at Moobies, obviously, and it just kind of goes
Movies.
through that, which Moobies drink every time we say Moobies. And this was actually a good time because Jason Mewes got sober in real life. Unfortunately, he relapses in 2010, but Kevin, dead ass, like find yourself a friend like Kevin Smith because
Mm-hmm.
he stuck by him so much and he helped him. And ever since 2010, Jay has been stone cold sober and good for you,
He's got a
Jay. Like
wife and a kid
keep
and
going,
everything.
man. Keep on keeping on because if you can find a friend like Kevin and like even Jay who is willing to put in the time, anybody can do it. So Yeah.
Don't lose that fight because it's now you got a kid.
Yeah. You have a lot to live for, and you're a
Yeah.
phenomenal,
And
just
his kid has an
phenomenal
awesome
dude.
name. Anybody who names their kid Logan is clearly awesome.
Very true. Very true. So at the beginning, when Dante picks up Randall for their new job, that was actually Kevin's. The pink
Because it
house
starts
was,
off quick stop burnt down.
yes, it burns
So it
down.
starts, it's
That's why they
still
have to get a
black
new
and
job.
white. Dante opens the door and he sees fire, and the fire is actual color. And then he closes the door. Then he opens it again, and yeah, so it's burning down. So then, yeah, he goes to pick up Randall for their new job because they can't work at Quick Stop or the video shop had probably
Yep.
already shut down by then.
DVD. Well, no, at that 2006 DVDs. I was going to Best. I was
Blockbuster
going to
was
Blockbuster.
on
No, Blockbuster had a
Blockbuster.
few
There
years
was
left.
Blockbuster was already doing their where you could do. They were competing with Netflix, where you could order them and then exchange them in the store.
I
That was
miss
right around then.
Blockbuster. God damn it. I miss Blockbuster.
We all
Anyways,
do.
yes. So you do get to see uh, the convenience store, it burns down. Now they go get a job at Mooby's. This is
You see
where,
Smith's childhood home.
yep, Rosario Dawson plays in it, and they bring Kinky Kelly, who is a donkey, for a sex show. And it's funny because they're all sitting there, and then it's like the scene where they all tilt their heads, like, what the hell? It's just one of those things, like it's a car crash. You can't look away from it.
Right.
I can so relate to that on so many levels.
But it was the first time anybody heard interspecies erotica.
Yes, interspecies erotica. That is some real weird shit. Bestiality stuff, you weirdos.
Well, when they call it bestiality, it's like
Yes,
interspecies erotica. But I love Jason Lee. You know, he makes a cameo in this, and
he
he's a totally
does.
different character. He's not Brody or Banky. He's some random dude. He's pickle fucker. But he's clearly filming My Name is Earl when he makes his
Oh
cameo
yeah,
because
he
he's
is.
got the long hair and the mustache.
He so is, which is a great show. Go check that out if you
But in
have
My Name
not.
is Earl, yeah, he's always such a nice guy. And in this, he's like a D bag that made it big. He
Yeah,
almost is, but like Brody made it big, but he's not Brody.
no, he's not Brody. He just plays that, and so
He's
great.
Lance.
This is another just great movie, full of just hilariousness. Jay and Silent Bob, they end up buying the Quick Stop from the money that they make from Blunt Man and Chronic, and they buy it for Dante and Randall.
And they are sober in this movie. And I believe the story that Jay tells, the guy that says Brenda in the first movie and the other random guy, or not in the first movie in Mallrats, they're like, "Oh, you guys are sober now." And Jay tells a story of why they're sober, and I believe that was actually the story that happened to him. So they
Oh,
decided to have the characters sober in the movie because Jay was sober at that time. So that was really cool. I mean, they
yeah, it
tied it
is.
in, and it seemed like it totally went with the movie.
Yeah.
And can we just talk real quick about the tuck? I didn't know that guys could look like that.
Yes. I've
I
never
remember
done
that
it,
scene just
but
being like, "What the fuck?"
I have never personally done
Really,
this.
I assumed every guy had because
No. Would you fuck
he was
me?
a. I,
I would fuck me.
oh, it's such so weird.
Yeah, no, I
All right,
have not. I have never personally. But this movie ends in black and white. The milkmaid is back, and it's Kevin Smith's mom, whom
who
he
gets
just
the
saw.
milk? Kevin's mom gets the milk.
She does. And then we're going to roll into Jay and Silent Bob, the reboot. Reboot to the schnooboot. And this movie only got made because Kevin had his near fatal heart attack. It changed his life. And he wanted to have a good movie, making memories with like Jason Mewes and all that kind of stuff. So they inadvertently sign away their names and rights to the new Blunt Man and Chronic movie, and now they head to Hollywood to stop the film from being made. Jay learns that he's the father. The goal changes, and he's the father of Kevin Smith's daughter, and not
Yeah, and her
actually
name's
though,
like what Millennium? Her like
something like
Millennia
that. I don't
Falcon or
remember what it
something.
is, but yes, Harley Quinn Smith plays Jay Muse's daughter. He had a daughter with Justice, Boo Boo Kitty Fuck,
And he
and
didn't know.
no, he had no idea. I personally really love that Ben Affleck even showed back up for this because when he was with Jennifer Garner all those years, Jennifer Garner did not like Kevin Smith, so they fell out. And
Oh,
Kevin was kind of broken up. I mean, I'm only off of what I've heard from his podcast and his interviews. He was just like, yeah, I don't know, we just don't talk anymore, blah blah blah. But you can kind of
right.
so he shows back up and he kind of gives like a monologue basically, and it was beautiful. I'm glad that Ben gets
I saw
back
an
in.
interview that was, it sounds like what happened was Kevin Smith sounds like an open book. You tell Kevin Smith anything, it could end up on stage, it could end up in his
Oh yeah,
podcast, it could end up in a movie. He is an
he
open book.
talks. He's a talker.
Right. And he lays everything he has out on the table, which means he's probably incredibly honest. But I
Yeah,
guess he sometimes tells stories that other people are like, yo, dude, you shouldn't have told that story. So I think that's what happened. But he actually did not write Ben Affleck into the movie because he was concerned there was still some sort of animosity. And then after they had started the movie, I guess he reached out or somebody was like, you should reach out, and he didn't have a storyline for him. And then when Ben Affleck was like, "Hell yeah, I'll do something," he then added something after he agreed to do it, and
man,
it was awesome because I love that
Ben
they
Affleck, such a good dude.
had a and they made fun of Batman too, and I loved
They
that.
did.
I really did. Yeah, this is one of the first things I watched with quarantine was because I had never gotten to see this, and they did something at MegaCon one year where it was Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, but I had my daughter was a little too young at that point. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not taking you to see anything that's
Well, they had
Jay
their
and
roadshow,
Silent
Jay and
Bob.
Silent Bob Get Old. They were doing a podcast, which
Yeah.
so the podcast actually came from Kevin basically being like, "Hey, Jay, get sober again. Like, this is your way to stay accountable to everybody." And so they started a podcast, and that's actually helped Jay, stay sober, and it was all that other good stuff. But I missed the Jay and Silent Bob reboot roadshow in Portland, Maine by like a week. I had to
Mm.
move to Idaho like a week before this shit popped off, and I'm so mad. Nobody ever comes to Boise, Idaho, and I don't blame them, but like fuck, dude, like just hook me up for once. Anyways, Jason Mewes' daughter is also in this. She plays Holden in Alyssa Jones's kid.
So she's part of the Chasing Amy story. She's Ben
Yes.
Affleck's daughter, and you see, it's really cute. If you there's actually a whole documentary on Prime. It's the making of the reboot. And for anybody who doesn't know, Kevin Smith, huge crier. He can
He
cry in
is.
the
He
drop
cries
of a
for
hat.
so much. Yeah.
So
Respect it.
there, but there's even a scene where Ben Affleck's bringing the little girl, and it's cute because I didn't know that it was Jason Mewes' daughter when I watched it. I found out later, and there's actually a scene where Jay is like, messing with the little girl, and it makes a lot more sense
Yeah.
later. But they like walk her down, and then you see in the making of like she wants Kevin Smith to walk her down this stage because she knows him. So it was really cute, and I was really glad that they did that. But we didn't say this on our wrestling episode. I don't think I might have zoned out for a second, but Chris Jericho's in this movie.
He is. He's the clan leader, which makes sense
Yep.
because he's kind of a MAGA dude, unfortunately.
No,
He is.
really?
He is.
Oh well,
Yeah.
he was fine with having shit spewed all over him.
Well, he's just a phenomenal wrestler, performer, anyways. But yeah, he's kind of a MAGA dude.
Oh no.
Anyways, yeah.
What are you gonna do? All right. But
Oh, I do have to
yeah.
say, so if anybody listens to Fat Man Beyond, Mark Bernardin was supposed to be in this movie, and he sits front row. He's in the press during the MegaCon event, and he was supposed to ask some questions, but that got cut, and he was just giving him shit for the longest time. Like, bro, I was supposed to be in your movie, but you cut me out
Well,
of
because
your own
he's still in his
movie.
podcast too. That's funny.
Yeah, and they still do podcasts together, and it was great. So Mark Bernardin is another person who I absolutely love, just because he has some really good takes, and it's just really real. So that's kind of all I have for this movie. Honestly, we have Clerks 3 happening, and
And
Mallrats 2 are
Mallrats
also
too.
happening. So I cannot wait. We also have movies pop up still going on. They're going to go to Austin this summer, which I'm probably going to just start hijacking people's trips to Austin because I want to go to the movies pop up. And also, Austin is like the beer destination of America.
I think I'm going in June.
Hey, guess what? Nobody asked you.
I think yeah, we're tailgating on Ian's trip. And when we go into the family business beer company, Ian and I are going to blast Carry On My Wayward Son. And our spouses are just going to make fun of us. That's supernatural, y'all. Supernatural. Jensen Ackles owns a brewery in Austin,
He
Texas. Well, I
does.
think it's Spring Hill, Texas, or am I thinking of Tennessee?
Spring Hill is definitely Tennessee,
Spring
where Brad's common law is, and
Dripping Springs,
oh my
Texas.
gosh, we
Something
should
like
be
that.
going to Tennessee this year, hopefully.
I'm going everywhere. I'm so sick of not going places.
Well, first of all, fuck you for getting to go to Austin. I hope you
I
send
haven't
some
booked
good
anything
beer.
yet.
Well, send good beer from there. Second of all, I can't wait to go to Tennessee. Third of all, I'm going to
Dripping
Disney
Springs,
next
yes.
week, and that's going to be exciting. This kind of wraps up part one. This is all about Kevin Smith movies. Next week, we are going to talk about Kevin Smith comic books because he made Batman P himself. He wrote some really good Green Arrow comic books, and he does a lot of good stuff.
We directed stuff too. Flash,
He
Supergirl.
directed stuff. So we're going to talking about his directorial debuts, his comic book debuts,
We will
all
not
sorts
talk
of
about
stuff.
Jersey Girl.
No, no. He also we forgot about Red State. Was it Red State? Garden State? Red State. He did Red State. We forgot about that.
I don't
But
even know what that is.
we'll talk
I
about
watched
it.
Garden State.
Well, maybe it's Garden State.
That's the one with the dude from Scrubs and Natalie Portman.
It did. God, Natalie Portman. Oh, yes. Anyways, my wife, speaking of my wife, her actually, if she could have any celebrity, it would be Zach Braff. That is very bizarre to me.
Huh. Interesting. Mine be
And then,
Jensen
but yet,
Ackles, but I think
but
everyone
she's
knows.
baffled by like my Anna Kendrick / Elizabeth Olsen. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. Regardless, that wraps up
Zach Braff. So
part.
she likes a funny guy.
Yeah, hello. That's why she's with me. I'm hilarious.
Hello.
Hello, I'm hilarious. That said, part one has been great. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Catch us, as we said, on Instagram, on Twitter, on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Check us out. We've been drinking some good beers.
Drinking beers.
Check us
beers,
out.
Beers.
Let us know what we fucked up, and we will see you next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and cheers.
Cheers. Noogans. Snurcher birches.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.